right, let's move on to Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency making up for lost ground this year, rallying up 50%. And one Bitcoin bull says the crypto winter is over and spring has officially sprung. Tom Lee of Fundstrat Global Advisors joins us on the phone to discuss his view on Bitcoin. Tom, thanks for joining us on Futures Now. Break down why you've become even more bullish on the cryptocurrency.
Seema, as you know, last year was a terrible year for crypto, a massive bear market. And we published a piece this week just highlighting there's 11 signs that historically only take place in a bull market. So I think the evidence is mounting that there's a bull market, but I think the few that really matter are things like on-chain blockchain volumes turned positive on a year-over-year basis in late January. Bitcoin crossed above its 200-day moving average on April 1st. It's a big technical hurdle to cover, and it hasn't been above its 200-day moving average for more than 13 months. And we surveyed OTC brokers. They're really important in terms of how institutional investors trade crypto. And universally, they've all talked about a 60 to 70% increase in activity levels, like number of clients, and the trading per client really taking off recently. So I think you're seeing signs that fundamentals are improving, technicals are improving, and then now there's real activity by essentially crypto hodlers.
I understand the technical justification, the fact that it's over some key levels, but just to your point on fundamentals, are we seeing more vendors and merchants start to accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies? Don't we need that to happen in order for investors to say, wow, I really think that this cryptocurrency could increase in value?
Yeah, I think that's really important for that to take place in the U.S. for adoption because there's a really well-established financial system. What I think we have to remember is crypto is probably 70% a story outside the U.S. And I think events like Venezuela, the devaluation of Turkish lira, these have actually caused on-chain volumes to take off because, on a local Bitcoin basis, people are saying, look, I don't trust using, these local currencies. I don't trust the banks. I'm going to start using Bitcoin. And that's what's causing the on-chain volume to really take off.
But when looking at global transactions, what percentage does Venezuela and Turkey, some of these distressed nations that, to your point, may be looking to cryptocurrencies to either get money out of their country, what percentage do those countries make up of global cryptocurrency transactions?
Yeah, to give you perspective, just taking those two countries, they're close to 30% of the increase in on-chain activity. So it's meaningful. And, in the U.S., clearly, I think you've said it best, until crypto is part of the existing financial system and sort of used every day, it's really going to be primarily an asset of speculation in the U.S.
Tom, it's Anthony in New York. I'm looking at the other currencies, Litecoin and XRP and Ethereum, and those seem to have lagged. They haven't participated in this rally. Does that concern you a little bit about Bitcoin? It does, but it doesn't because, if you look at the altcoins, we track the correlation between the altcoins and crypto. And typically what happens is that Bitcoin will rally and correlations will actually drop because, as you just point out, the altcoins aren't tracking this. But that's a setup into what we would call the next altcoin season because all of a sudden people will say, well, Bitcoin's just made an 80% move. And if they're taking some profits, they might redeploy that not into USD, but they'll actually start to buy the alt. So altcoins typically follow once you have a big move in Bitcoin.
Tom, talk to us about the correlation between Bitcoin and the broader market. Has U.S. stocks trading right around all-time highs helped the cryptocurrency market as well?
EM Bitcoin has a pretty high correlation to EM equities, and it makes sense because EM equities are sort of the riskier end of risky assets. The S&P and Bitcoin actually have a negative correlation at the moment. So one, it's sort of, Bitcoin's doing its job to be an uncorrelated asset. But one thing to keep in mind is whenever the S&P has made a big move, and, this year it's 2.5 standard deviations, it's almost always led to a big move in crypto later in the year. So I think Bitcoin, a 2.5 standard deviation move for Bitcoin would take it to 14,000. I'm not saying that's where it's going to go, but that's the magnitude of move that would be a catch-up.
And lastly, for U.S. equities, we're trading right around all-time highs. NASDAQ above its all-time high. Where do we go from here? Higher or lower?
Oh, I think this. Look, I think at 2019, and we've been telling clients, 2009 is a really good template because into 2019 we had a big credit dislocation. Now we have an adjustment by the Fed. Plus we had sort of a panic waterfall decline in stocks. So I think 3,100 is sort of the level people should think about this year, which is obviously is new highs for the S&P, but it's not because of earnings exploding. It's really just that PEs are expanding and anticipating really what 2020 should look like, which is a stronger cyclical recovery.
Yeah, and a lot of that will have to do with what we learned from earnings season. Tom, thanks so much for making time for us on Futures Now. I appreciate your perspective on cryptocurrencies and the broader market action. That's Tom Lee of Fundstrat Global Advisors. And Brian, you are trading the CME Bitcoin futures for us. Tell us what you have.
Yeah, I'm looking to buy at the 54.50 level. I think it trades up to 5,600, tests that 200-day moving average. I put a stop down at 5,300. I think when you look at Bitcoin, which I'm long, and granted I have some long puts as protection and short some calls against that position, but when I look at it, I think you look at alternative currencies out there, and there's the US dollar, and strangely enough, there's Bitcoin. And you look at everywhere else, and everybody else is easing monetary policy, weakening their currency levels. And I think that's starting to drive people into alternative currency. That's picked it up. Another interesting fact, I don't know if we can bring a chart, and looking at the NASDAQ going all the way back to 2000. But when the internet bubble crashed and crapped out, the same way that Bitcoin did so, you basically had a year or two of a bottoming process where internet stocks were left for dead. And the cream of the crop rose to the top. The Amazon of the world, the Microsofts of the world came back the same way Bitcoin has come back and the rest of the altcoins have been left for dead. I think the same thing is starting to occur. A bottoming process is starting to occur, and people are looking at Bitcoin as a serious means of transacting and usefulness. We heard about the OTC market picking up in transactions. That's very positive. More transactions is better for our currency, so that should drive it higher. I think we continue to trend to the upside in Bitcoin.
Grizz, final comment.
I actually like this trade a lot. I love it above the 52.75 level. The only thing I see is emerging markets that Tom had mentioned. If the dollar gets any stronger, that hurts those markets, and it could possibly hurt Bitcoin. But I think that's a little bit down the road. So I do like this trade right now because the momentum is on Bitcoin's side.